After covering the first non-mage run with the hunting mastery in the last episode, it is now time to tackle the first pet build. And we start with the nature mastery. This is a mastery that I've played a lot for my glitchless legendary runs, simply because its early game is so good. The wolves are incredibly powerful and melt through Act 1 and 2 with relative ease. You also get the Heart of Oak, which boosts your total speed by 10% for just one skill point. But the question is, how do the wolves perform in the later stages of this speedrun? Let's find out. As I said earlier, our priority is maxing out the wolves. We will put every skill point we get into the Call of the Wild until it is at maximum. In addition to that, I am looking for rings and an amulet with the Beast Caller's prefix to increase the wolves' damage even further. So I actually walk into the first cave to complete the Monstrous Brigands quest and get a little bit more money.
A human face. Good for...
At level 3 we find a Shrine of Mastery, which I use to get 2 level 9 wolves. I could have saved the shrine for later, but decided that I can really use the increased killing speed right now. For the fight against Nessus we get a Frostbite Shrine, and for these shrines you'll see me use the Select All Pets hotkey to get the wolves into the area of the shrine to make sure that they also get the effect. I use the Taunt skill to make Nessus focus on me, because I want the wolves to stay alive. The fight turns out to be a bit fiddly, but with enough care we survive it without getting into too much trouble. Back in Sparta we buy some rather expensive grease of travel, but that gets us to 15% movement speed early on.
Go on, don't make...
I again fight the Cyclops, trying to get more money for some Beast Caller's items, and from the Majestic chest we get Beast Caller's beads. As we open the chests from the quest News of the Shipwreck, we find another Hermes' sandal, which means that we now have 2 of them already. As we reach level 7, we have a Call of the Wild skill at the maximum level of 16. But we need the skill to be at level 18 to summon the maximum of 3 wolves. So it is quite lucky that we find a Shrine of Mastery right away and summon 3 level 20 wolves. In Ambossos we can buy a Beast Caller's loop. Unfortunately, the other 2 Beast Caller rings are a bit too expensive, so we will stay on 1 Beast Caller ring for now. Not for long though. In the Chrysaeus Falls we find our second Beast Caller's ring, so we're good on that side. We also unlock the Heart of Oak and the Regrowth at level 8. 10% total speed, and also a way to keep the wolves alive for longer. We continue towards the Gorgons to what I can only describe as the easiest fight against the Gorgons that you will ever come across. With the Select All Pets hotkey we send the wolves to Uriel first, then frantically yell at the remaining 2 Gorgons to get their attention. And with the enthusiasm of 3 pit bulls on a preschool playground, our wolves rip the Gorgons to pieces. On our way to Athens, we even kill the captured lemurs. Because we can. Wolves rock during this stage. But things get a lot more complicated against Alastor. Alastor not only resists the attacks of our wolves, but also has his variation of the Death Chill aura, which gradually lowers the health of our canine friends. And even with a scroll of arcane power, we don't deal enough damage to kill Alastor before our wolves would go down. So what do? We heal our wolves and send them to safety, as losing them would result in a huge time loss. A tedious fight with the potential to ruin the run. But we manage to keep all the wolves alive and continue towards Knossos. For the Minotaur we again use a Scroll of the Breaking Wheel in combination with the Taunt skill. Nothing new, and as long as we stay mobile, we're not getting into too much danger. The fight against the Telkine is not difficult either. It has just one ability that I'm afraid of, which is the one where it mind controls your pets for a short time. It only gets 2 of the wolves though, so a 3rd wolf manages to get the kill. Most of the fights in Act 2 will follow a similar pattern. Run in, taunt the boss, let the wolves do the work. We'll try to keep our doggies alive as best as possible with the regrowth. Which is what you see against the Scarab. Just before the fight against the legendary Scorpion we get another Shrine of Mastery, which I use to resummon the wolves. we still had the same wolves from when we were at level 7, so our wolves never benefited from the skill points on the maul and survival instinct skills. Well, now they do. And the Scorpus doesn't stand a chance against them. In the Great Sphinx we have to fight off the walking stones again, and even though we got elemental damage on the wolves, this fight again takes a long time. We fight them one by one because that makes the health management of the wolves much easier, and after 1.5 minutes we can leave the Sphinx with a hand of balance. The Eye of Chaos is still at the Temple of Atum, so Neapkau, the poor scorpion, has to die to a blade trap once again. And with that bombshell, we go back to Memphis. We then face the next boss, Telkin number 2, who again only has one dangerous skill. And that is the open roof sunbeam one, which I think is its official name. And one of our poor dogs suffers the same fate as Aunt Betty's poodle on a hot day in the Walmart parking lot. Didn't really happen, don't worry. Luckily I've placed a portal on another Shrine of Mastery earlier. So we can use the reset character hotkey to get to the Valley of Kings' portal, go to the Shrine of Mastery and revive our dog. Unlike Aunt Betty. With the newly gained skill point we unlock the Silver Nymph, who can hopefully learn a thing or two from the wolves. The fight against the Sand Wraith Lord is rather uneventful. We try to keep the aggro of those demons while our pets deal all the damage. The Plague helps with holding the aggro quite well, and with its modifier, even slows down the enemies. We can then continue towards the Temple of Marduk, where we will face the biggest challenge for our doggos since Alistair. The Chimera with its fire breath and the ice traps can be devastating for the wolves, and even though we get a battle marker before the fight, which speeds this up significantly, we lose all 3 wolves in this fight. We still take down the Chimera quite quickly, so it's not the end of the world. At the Natula Ridge, we help the troubled caravan and collect some more experience. We don't really need it, but it is a quick quest to complete. A quest we definitely need is the killing of the Gargantuan Yeti. This gives us plus 100% health on all of our pets. Takes about half a minute, but makes our pets a lot stronger. I again teach the old warrior a lesson in despair, still on only 2 wolves, which is not great. I would have liked to find another Shrine of Mastery by now to get the 3 level 20 wolves back. And we find one just outside of Chang'an, which is important for the fight against Yao Guai. Another blade trap helps with the Demon Bull, who kills one wolf, but then goes down before he can do more harm. In the Obsidian Halls we find another Shrine of Mastery, which means that we can get the wolves and the nymph back up. This also means that the fight against the third Telkin is a piece of cake. For some reason, the Telkin seems stunned by the wolves and ceases to attack in the second half of the fight, so after just more than 20 seconds we can continue our way at the lower Olympus. And this is where I use a little trick called running away from the rebirth fountain to port back to it so that we can get rid of the lemurses and skeletons that attack us. Patent pending. To be completely honest, I could have just relocked, because we won't use the wolves during the fight against Typhon. Because as helpful as they were during the whole run, for Typhon the wolves just act like walking healing potions. If they get hit by the life leech, they die almost instantly and give lots of health back to Typhon, so I had to find a different way to kill the Titan, which I found in the nymph and the susceptibility of the plague. It is still a fight which is difficult to complete without any mistakes, because the nymph is quite squishy and can also act as a health potion for Typhon, but I still think that this is the best way to tackle the fight. But I do make a lot of mistakes during this. His life leech hit me multiple times, and the nymph died quite quickly on a few occasions. In the end, I barely managed to stay under 1 hour 31 minutes, and I think that a better time for the nature run is definitely possible. With that being said, I'd still place the nature run in the C tier just above the hunting run. I'd say that the nature run sits at a high difficulty, although it is the easiest mastery to run with during the earlier stages. The difficulty just spikes during some of the boss fights, namely the fight against Alistar and the fight against Typhon. The fights against the Chimera and the Demon Bull can also take some time if you lose the wolves too quickly. You might be able to find a way to make this run easier, but as it is, this is a difficult run to complete. Next up, Rogue.